Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
98 degrees is in our forecast again this week, and the heat index will be even higher than that. I'm outlining our building heat coming up.
And Governor Roy Cooper removed his name from the pool of potential vice presidential candidates for Kamala Harris. What analysts believe may be in the future for North Carolina's governor.
And right now, a group of people are starting to gather outside of the Chapel Hill courthouse this morning. This as 6 people who were charged after pro-Palestinian protests on UNC campus are due in court. Coming up, what they're asking for today.
And there is a jam-packed day ahead of us in Paris, including the women's gymnastics team final and NC State grad Catherine Berghoff in the 100-meter backstroke. We're going to catch you up on all the action happening today, and there is, in fact, a lot of action happening. Thanks so much for joining us here on WRAL News on Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. And we'll get to all of that coming up. But first, we have to talk about our weather. Beautiful skies over Dix Park this morning. Meteorologist Kat Campbell with us with how warm we're going to get today.
It's going to be in the upper 80s today, perhaps hitting 90 in Fayetteville. Not a bad start to the day. Quite a bit of clouds out there, but in the mid 70s, a little bit more sun already peeking out in Fayetteville, giving you a better chance at hitting that 90-degree mark. This morning, 73 as you're headed out for maybe a walk or a jog on your local greenway. As we head toward lunchtime, it's 82. And then during the afternoon, we're in the upper 80s, but that is going to come with a chance for some scattered storms today. The chance about 50% and the best chance between 4 and 9 o'clock. This is why the front doesn't ever get here, but we do have some storms out ahead of it that try to move in later this evening into tonight. Up until then, no rain chances until we get to really about 3 o'clock, about a 30% chance. That chance up to 50% by 5, 6 o'clock. We should see that taper off after sunset. The tropics are becoming more active. Doesn't look like much out there right now. But as it moves out of this plume of Saharan dust into warmer ocean waters and closer to the Bahamas, there's a 60% chance we could see at least a tropical depression develop. And I'll have more on what's guiding this system coming up in just a bit. Ken.
Ken, happening now in the WRAL traffic center. A number of incidents dotting our live traffic map this morning, but none of these really affecting your morning commute. A couple of them I do want to make you aware of. This one on Lynn Road in the eastbound lane near Six Forks Road, not causing any problems in that particular area, but just look for some police activity if you happen to be on Lynn Road and that intersection this morning. And this other crash, we're monitoring this now, South Saunders Street near Highway 401 and Dawson Street. Right now, it's not causing any problems in that particular area, but I know your eyes are drawn to the belt line right there. You see that red line. That's what's happening right now on the southern side of the belt line. You can see the little bit of a slowdown there from South Saunders Street, but once you get past the Gorman Street exit, it's clear sailing from there. Not a problem to report in all points west. Elsewhere around the triangle, we're seeing the usual congestion building on the northern side of the belt line as well as some I-885 in the north and southbound lanes, adding about 1 or 2 minutes to your commute. Really quickly, got a road closure to tell you about on Ligon Mill Road. This road will be closed for the foreseeable future as crews work to install a new drainage pipe in that area. There are detours set up right there at Burlington Mills Road and Forestville Road. We'll keep you posted on how this will continue to affect your morning commute moving forward.
Thank you, Ken. Governor Roy Cooper will not be Kamala Harris's running mate in the presidential election. He released a statement last night about withdrawing from consideration. And WRAL's Laura Levine is at the governor's mansion in Raleigh. Laura, Cooper says right now it's just not the right time for him to be a nominee.
And it's all about timing. Good morning, Michelle. Yes, Governor Cooper will continue his duties here in North Carolina as governor without also having to deal with the pressure of pursuing a spot on a national ticket. However, political analysts say this likely won't be the last time we hear Cooper's name on a much national level. Now, we know he says that if Kamala Harris wins, Cooper could get a prime cabinet spot. Take a look at this post from Governor Cooper on X last night. He says, "I know she's going to win, and I was honored to be considered for this role." He writes, "This just wasn't the right time for North Carolina and for me to potentially be on a national ticket." According to NBC News, a source close to Cooper says he took himself out of the mix because he wants to run for the U.S. Senate in 2026. Chris Cooper, a professor at Western Carolina University, weighs in.
But 2026, Tom Tillis's seat is going to be coming up. I presume that Tillis will likely run again on the Republican side. This would make it a lot more likely that Roy Cooper might be the Democratic nominee, or at least a Democratic contender. If that happened, if we get Tillis versus Cooper in 2026, it's going to be, I mean, just an incredible matchup.
That source close to the situation also said that he never indicated to the campaign that he wanted to be VP. He shared with the Harris team and campaign that he doesn't want to be considered. Laura Levine, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
Former President Donald Trump is set to be at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Chicago tomorrow. NABJ, if you didn't know, is one of the largest conventions in the country. The Trump campaign says that he will engage in a Q&A with political journalists there. They'll focus on the most pressing issues facing the black community. Vice President Kamala Harris was also invited. NABJ says her confirmation is still pending, though. And right now, people facing charges for their roles in a pro-Palestinian protest at UNC and their supporters are gathering. They plan to speak ahead of their court appearance this morning. And WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is at the Chapel Hill Courthouse. I did see in your camera a little bit ago, Kelsey, that they were meeting there. Tell me a little bit about what you've heard so far.
Chris, just about 10 minutes ago, we started to see some people gather, and now more are coming now. So this is at least over a dozen people here outside of the Chapel Hill Courthouse. This group of people is gathered together in support of the 6 people who were charged after they were arrested during those protests back in April when protesters and police collided on UNC's campus. Now, this group is making their second appearance this morning. They made their first appearance back in May, and they're standing by their message today. They're calling for UNC to cut any financial ties with Israel. Now, our WRAL Investigates team looked into UNC's endowment. The school's most recent financial statement shows money is invested in at least 8 different categories. We spoke with education and public policy expert Chris Marciano after the protests back in April. He says tracking every company in those investments is difficult.
It would be very, 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 very hard to understand which companies are contracting with companies who are contracting with companies who are contracting with companies who are doing business in Israel. And that's the level of detail that student protests are asking for.
So we'll be sure to keep you updated on what happens here outside of the courthouse, and we'll also let you know what comes out of what happens here in court later today. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Chapel Hill.
Authorities in Lee County are trying to track down the man they say nearly hit a deputy with a car while avoiding arrest. The sheriff's office says it's looking for Eric Stone. They say he took off while deputies were serving warrants for several reasons, including drug and felony probation violation. This video shows the law enforcement presence on St. Andrew's Church Road in Sanford last night. The sheriff's office says Stone sped away in a 2012 Audi and almost hit a deputy. Stone now will face a new charge of assault with a deadly weapon on a law enforcement officer. And today in Paris, Team USA's women's gymnastics team will try to secure a victory for a medal during the team final. WRAL has that and other sports coverage from the Olympics this morning. Men's volleyball is at 9 a.m. At 11:30 on WRAL, Duke Sierra Burdick with Team USA 3-on-3 women's basketball team that will play Germany. And then at 12:15, it's the women's gymnastics team. And at 2:30, swimming coverage gets started on WRAL. That includes NC State's Catherine Burkhoff in the 100-meter backstroke.
And the U.S. women's national basketball team will try to secure its 8th straight gold medal this week. Their next game is this Thursday against Belgium at 3 p.m. Eastern. Now, the team hit the court for the first time yesterday to defend their 55-game Olympics winning streak. Asia Wilson led the way with 24 points, 13 rebounds, 4 blocks. Good on you, Asia. Brianna Stewart scored 22 points and 8 boards. And Team USA got the win over Japan, 102-76.
And the men's gymnastics team ended a 16-year medal drought. The team battled their way to bronze, clinching Team USA's 3rd medal in the past 20 Olympic Games. A high-pressure finish from the pommel horse pro Steven Nedazarek helped to land the team on the podium. He told NBC landing the dismount was the best moment of his life. And let's take a look at where the medal count stands this morning. USA leads right now with 20 medals. France is in 2nd place with 16. Japan and China both have 12. And we have a viewing guide on WRAL.com where you can follow your favorite sports and athletes. Find the complete schedule day by day, what is on each channel and streaming on WRAL.com. Search the words Olympics schedule.
Parents, today, the Senate is expected to pass a bill meant to protect children while they're online. The Kids Online Safety Act would require sites to protect information of minors and restrict features that may be addictive. It would be the first major effort by Congress in decades to hold tech companies more accountable for the harm they may cause. The bill has significant bipartisan support, too.
Coming up, taking weight loss drugs like Ozempic or Wegovy may have another added benefit. We'll explain a new study that found they could help curb smoking habits.
And as wildfires rip through the western United States, there are new concerns about the kind of harm smoke can cause. What experts say inhaling smoke could mean for brain health. Kat?
Behind this system with the latest developments and models this morning, I'll show you the environment it's headed into and how it's different coming up. Good morning. I'm meteorologist Kat Campbell. In for Elizabeth Gardner, we continue to monitor this area of disturbed weather out in the Atlantic. Doesn't look like anything on satellite right now. That's good news for now, but things are going to be changing. And here's why. It is stuck in this big plume of Saharan dust right now. That's dry, dusty air, keeping it from developing. Of course, tropical systems, they like moisture. They do not like dust around. And as it moves further to the west, it's going to move out of that plume of dust and into this zone of very warm ocean water. So both of those factors should come together to give it a much more favorable environment for development. This would come toward the end of the week and into the weekend. So it's still going to be a while before this comes together and actually develops. We are still awaiting model plots. I don't think that we're going to get those anytime soon, but the National Hurricane hunters may actually fly into this storm later today or tomorrow. So hopefully we'll get some new data in. The new European model ensembles, they showed a change this morning, actually lowering the chance of tropical storm development probability, now down to about a 40% chance after having 50% chances throughout the day yesterday. This is an exclusive model product we have here at WRAL to show you. And in this range, before these systems really develop, it's one of our best tools. And of course, it uses the European model, which tends to do a really great job at tropical forecasting. Let's talk about what is steering this potential system. Once it reaches the Bahamas, the strength of the system is going to have a lot to do with where it goes. If it's weaker, it's going to kind of stay away from the high and potentially move closer to the Gulf of Mexico. A stronger system would likely be steered closer to the southeast coast, and if it takes a path kind of in the middle as weaker storm in that moderate in-between zone, there's a chance it could actually be pulled in a bit closer to the high and then stay a fish storm for a bit longer. So we're going to watch that potential later on. Around here locally today, it's a pretty typical summer day. Highs near 90, a bit more humid, some afternoon and evening storms possible. Those are going to be very scattered though in nature. Tomorrow is when the big heat starts, 95 degrees tomorrow, 98 Thursday and Friday. Coming up in the next half hour, I'll have a closer look at the dangerous heat and when the heat index should exceed 105. We are definitely going to have the heat, though, as we head into Saturday and Sunday. Still hanging out in the 90s a bit longer, Ken.
All right, Kat, happening now in the WO Traffic Center. A lot of incidents popping up on our sensors this morning, but none of these really affecting your morning commute. A couple of them I want to make you aware of. This one on Lynn Road and near Six Forks Road, not causing any problems in that area, but just be aware of any police activity right there on Lynn Road. There's a crash we've been monitoring right now on South Saunders Street near Highway 401 and Dawson Street. Again, just look for some police activity in the area. It's probably in the clearing phase. We've been keeping an eye on the southern side of the Beltline this morning. It's been going from red to yellow. Right now, it's mainly yellow, just a bit of a slowdown, adding about 1 or 2 minutes to your morning commute there in the south side of the Beltline. We'll keep an eye on that and let you know how it's going to continue to affect your morning commute this morning. Things have definitely cleared up on the northern side of the Beltline, which is a good thing. Many of you use I-540 as an alternate route. We're seeing that those westbound lanes, we have a bit of a slowdown this morning, probably just about 1 or 2 minutes to your morning commute this morning. We've been keeping an eye on I-885. Every now and then we'll see it turn red and then it goes to yellow, and that's probably part of your morning commute. If I-885 is part of your morning commute, pack in some extra time this morning just to be on the safe side.
Thank you, Ken. People who live in the Regency Place apartments in West Raleigh, they reached out to WRAL to talk about their frustrations. They awoke yesterday to find their windows of their vehicles in the parking lot broken. Tape now covers windows that were smashed. People in the neighborhood told WRAL they were victims of similar crimes in the past year. Data from Raleigh police shows there were more than 1,500 reports of thefts from vehicles in the city from January to June this year. That is an average of more than 8 a day.
If it's just a break-in and they don't get anything, then obviously we would just be needing to fix the client's glass or anything to that effect, or doors that might have been pried open.
That was insurance agent Nick Nance. People who live there tell us they would like to see more police patrolling.
A woman is hurt after she was hit by a car in Fuquay Arena last night. Town officials tell us the car hit a pedestrian after it was stopped and was turning right at a red light. It happened at the intersection of Judd Parkway and North Broad Street. This is near Fuquay Arena High School. Officials tell us she had a minor arm injury and was taken to the hospital as a precaution.
As wildfires scorch the western part of our country, new study results focus on the physical dangers of the huge clouds of smoke. Here's Ted Lindner.
Multiple large blazes continue decimating communities across the West. With California's Park Fire, one of the largest in the state's history, threatening to destroy thousands of structures as it charred through more than 373,000 acres across at least 4 northern counties as of Monday.
We knew it was going to be bad. We just didn't know how bad it was going to be.
Insurance companies in the Golden State have been dropping homeowners coverage as the risk of wildfires continues to grow. Ron Ward recently lost his before the Park Fire inched towards his property. He stayed behind to fight off the flames and save his home.
Put in a high-pressure fire pump and put up sprinklers all the way around our property. The pump that I was talking about got delivered the same time the fire started.
In Colorado, meanwhile, the Alexander Mountain Fire, north of Boulder, quickly spread to more than 300 acres as of Monday, forcing evacuations.
Anxious moments.
Yes, for sure.
Fires like these produce thick smoke that can travel for miles and bring air quality to dangerous levels. According to a new study out this week, breathing in small particles found in wildfire smoke may be worse for people's brain health than other types of air pollution. Officials at the Alzheimer's Association International Conference say the research suggests that wildfire smoke may even lead to an increased risk of dementia. With wildfire season lasting until the fall, health experts say those in affected areas should stay indoors when faced with poor air quality.
That was Ted Lindner reporting. Now, to put this into perspective, meteorologist Chris Michaels tells us that California's Park Fire has burned the equivalent to 68% of Wake County. Think about that. Today, the Federal Reserve starts a 2-day meeting. It'll consider whether to cut interest rates, which are now at a 23-year high. Last week, a key indicator showed inflation had slowed to 2.5%. Now, folks, that's far below the high of 7.1% it reached in mid-2022. The unemployment rate has also risen to a 2-year high. Analysts say the Fed may not cut interest rates this month. However, they could indicate the plan to do so at their next meeting in September.
The nation's gross debt hit a record $35 trillion yesterday. The country arrived at this milestone quicker than most economists predicted. Last month, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said the U.S.'s debt was relatively reasonable considering the size of the economy. America has not been able to cut back on borrowing due to rising costs of federal programs and lawmakers failing to enact budget cuts.
The Biden administration has announced a new weapons package for Ukraine. The Department of Defense will soon send air defenses and other weapons to the country. That is a near $200 million package. These weapons will come directly from the U.S. stockpile. The Biden administration also made a $1.5 billion commitment to sustain the country's defenses over the long term.
Today, Governor Rick Cooper will be on the coast to celebrate efforts to preserve natural lands. EPA Administrator Michael Regan will join Cooper for the event. The effort comes from federal funding from the EPA's Climate Pollution Grant Program. They'll talk about it at an event at 2:30 this afternoon in Brunswick County.
Jeff Hogan in the WRAL Live Center. I want to take you to live video right now. We have pictures coming in from southern India where there's been a terrible landslide after a couple of days of rain there. And you see this rescue effort going on. That's being hampered by more rain and some of those landslides. 93 people have been confirmed dead. There are still hundreds missing as this rescue effort hampered by rain. There's a bridge collapse nearby there, not allowing people to get out or folks to get in to rescue them. It's one of India's most popular tourist destinations, but all tourist excursions have been halted because of this rain and all the problems they're having. 100 families were stranded there. They have been able to rescue 250 people so far, but nearly 350 families total live in that affected region as the rescue effort continues there. Tough time.
They were able to save some people, but just tragic. Thank you, Jeff. Weight loss drugs such as Ozempic or Wegovy could help people quit smoking. That's according to a new study. Researchers examined medical records of 6,000 people who used weight loss drugs and smoked, and they found people were less likely to need additional prescriptions to help them quit or treat diseases related to tobacco use. However, it's not clear if patients' desire to smoke decreased or if they just stopped seeking treatment. And coming up, people charged in April's pro-Palestinian protests on UNC's campus are due in court today. We got a preview of that.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. Starting off nice and sunny. We could see that rain again later today. Meteorologist Kat Campbell walks us through it.
You know, you're not going to see it as early as you did yesterday. So if you're wanting to head out to the pool with your family, a local splash pad should be a good day to do it. It'll be a bit hotter and a bit more humid. 82 by noon. And then during the afternoon, we're in the upper 80s, perhaps 90 for the areas that see just enough sun today. And we will have a chance for scattered storms. But those are going to hold off until later during the afternoon hours. It's about a 50% chance today. I think best chances would be about 4 to 9 o'clock. Tomorrow, the heat really begins to build. 95 degrees, and then we're at 98 Thursday and Friday. The heat index well over 100 those days.
Kat, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. Several incidents right now dotting our live traffic map, but none of these incidents are really going to affect your morning commute this morning. But we are seeing the usual congestion building on the Beltline, on the south side of the Beltline, as well as the north side of the Beltline, adding about 1 or 2 minutes to your morning commute time. We do have a traffic alert to tell you about this morning. Ligon Mill Road will be closed in both directions on Highway 401. The detour set up on Forestville Road as well as Burlington Mills Road. Crews will be installing a brand new drainage pipe there on Ligon Mill Road. This will be going on for the foreseeable future until that work is done. We'll keep you posted on how it's going to affect your morning commute here in the WRAL Traffic Center.
Thanks, Ken. Governor Roy Cooper has withdrawn his name from vice presidential consideration. Cooper posted on X sharing his decision that the timing wasn't right for him or North Carolina. NBC News is reporting that a source close to Cooper says he took himself out of the mix because he wants to run for the U.S. Senate in 2026. Next on Fox 50, defendants charged in April's pro-Palestinian protests are in court again today.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Good morning. Get ready for the heat and humidity, and that's going to come with some scattered thunderstorms as well. I'll talk about the transition back to a bigger, hotter summer pattern coming up.
And right now, a group of people are gathered outside of the Chapel Hill courthouse this morning as people who were charged for pro-Palestinian protests on UNC's campus are due in court. Coming up, what they're asking for today.
Governor Roy Cooper is no longer on the short list as a possible VP pick for Kamala Harris, why the governor says he doesn't want to be considered.
And Olympic officials are postponing the men's triathlon due to safety concerns in the Seine River. Plus, we have a look at the big events that you'll want to catch coming up later today. Thank you for sticking with us on your Tuesday morning. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
I'm Chris Lovingale. A lot of Olympic action happening. Yes. Some people excited. And last check, I believe USA is still up.
On top.
Let's keep that going. But let's go here back to, we start with your day with weather. Meteorologist Kat Campbell getting you a look at us being in the warm sector, Kat.
It's going to be heating up this week. We have a big ridge of high pressure that's going to be building in over the southern plains. We're going to draw in a lot more moisture, and that means not only will it be hotter this week, it's going to be more humid. The heat index soaring above 100 again. And these are the actual highs, not the heat index. 95 tomorrow, upper 90s Thursday and Friday, staying in the 90s all the way through the weekend and early next week. So today's high of 89 is about as good as it's going to get. We're in the mid 70s this morning. A lot of cloud cover out there, still mostly cloudy. The clouds a bit thinner, though, in Fayetteville. We've got a front to our north and west. Some scattered storms are forming ahead of that front, and those storm complexes could reach us this week and later on in the afternoon today. It would mainly be between about 4 and 9 o'clock. As early as 3 o'clock would be possible, though, and it's about a 50% chance of storms. So not everybody is going to see them. Not much to see on our tropical satellite right now. It's this area that we are watching, but over the next 7 days, as it moves toward the Bahamas, there is a 60% chance of development. Meteorologist Chris Michaels will have a much more in-depth look at the tropics coming up here in just a few minutes, Ken.
All right, Kat, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. All new into the WRAL Traffic Center. We're getting reports of Cary police working a serious crash right there at High House Road, northbound near Cary Parkway. Just happened in the last 10 or 15 minutes. We're not seeing any issues in that area, but if you happen to be around High House Road, you'll see a lot of police activity. Just be careful, go through that area slowly to give law enforcement an opportunity to work that crash scene safely. There's another one we've been monitoring this morning that just happened a little while ago at Falls of Neuse Road in northern Wake County in the southbound lane near Raven Ridge Road. You can see it's causing quite a bit of a backup there. Give me a few minutes. I'll try to find an alternate route for you, but for right now, it's causing quite a bit of backup in those southbound lanes, and I'll keep you posted in terms of what I find here this morning. Also around the triangle, we're seeing the usual traffic build up in a lot around the Beltline, the northern side of the Beltline, as well as the south side of the Beltline, probably adding about 1 or 2 minutes to your morning commute time. We do have a traffic alert to tell you about this morning. Ligon Mill Road is closed in both directions this morning, right there at Highway 401. There are detours set up on Forestville Road as well as Burlington Mills Road. They'll be installing a brand new drainage pipe in that area. It's going to be going on for the foreseeable future, and of course, we'll keep you posted here in the WRAL Traffic Center in terms of how it will continue to affect your morning commute.
Happening now, people are gathering outside the Chapel Hill courthouse. It comes as the 6 people charged for their roles in a pro-Palestinian protest at UNC are expected to appear in court. And WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is outside the Chapel Hill courthouse right now. Kelsey, what have they been saying ahead of that court appearance? We see some people behind you.
Michelle, we just heard from some of these supporters here behind me a couple of minutes ago as they were chanting Free Palestine. I'll step out the way now so you can see a look at about 25 people are gathered here outside of the courthouse, and they're calling for 2 things this morning. They're calling for the DA to drop all charges that those protesters are facing. They're facing a number of charges for trespassing and some face assault charges. And they're also calling for UNC to divest from any ties with Israel. Now, our WRAL Investigates team looked into UNC's endowment. The school's most recent financial statement shows money is invested in at least 8 different categories. We spoke with education and public policy expert Chris Marciano after the protest in April. He says that tracking every company that they could be invested in is very difficult. Right now, 109 Israeli-based companies' stocks are listed on one of the U.S. trading markets. So we'll be sure to keep you updated on what happens in court later this morning. They should be appearing at 9 o'clock. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Chapel Hill.
Governor Roy Cooper says he withdrew his name from consideration as Kamala Harris's running mate. WRAL's Laura Levine tells us what this means for North Carolina as Election Day draws closer.
Governor Cooper will continue his duties here in North Carolina. Nothing changes with that, of course. However, Governor Cooper will also be able to do this without having to deal with the pressure of pursuing a spot on a national ticket. Political analysts also say if Kamala Harris wins this race, well, Governor Cooper could have a prime cabinet spot. Take a look at this. This is the post that Governor Roy Cooper shared on X last night. He said, "I know she's going to win, and I was honored to be considered for this role." He writes, "This just wasn't the right time for North Carolina and for me to potentially be on a national ticket." We spoke with Chris Cooper, a professor at Western Carolina University, on this decision.
But 2026, Tom Tillis's seat is going to be coming up. We presume that Tillis will likely run again on the Republican side. This would make it a lot more likely that Roy Cooper might be the Democratic nominee, or at least a Democratic contender. If that happened, if we get Tillis versus Cooper in 2026, it's going to be, just an incredible matchup.
According to NBC News, a source close to Cooper says he took himself out of the mix because he wants to run for the U.S. Senate in 2026 and that he never indicated to the campaign that he wanted to be VP. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Raleigh.
This morning, authorities in Lee County are working to find a man they say nearly hit a deputy with a car while trying to escape arrest. The sheriff's office says it's trying to find Eric Stone. They say he fled while deputies were serving warrants for habitual felon possession of methamphetamine, and a felony probation violation. This video shared by a WRAL viewer shows the law enforcement presence on St. Andrew's Church Road in Sanford last night. The sheriff's office says Stone sped away in a 2012 Audi, narrowly missing a deputy. Stone now will face another charge of assault with a deadly weapon on a law enforcement officer. If you have any information about where he may be, call the Lee County Sheriff's Office or 911.
Time's 8:37. Today, we might get a verdict in the trial of Henderson Atwater. Atwater is accused in a series of pellet gun shootings from 2020 to 2021. He sat in jail for nearly 3 years, and he maintained his innocence during that time. Last year, his case ended in a mistrial. The state says it's too much of a coincidence. Atwater's vehicle was seen at nearly all of the shooting scenes. His attorneys question the quality of that evidence. Deliberations will get underway this morning at 9:30. New this morning, Olympic organizers have postponed the men's triathlon race scheduled for this morning. They say the Seine River is still unsafe for swimming. Organizers bumped the event to tomorrow. It's now scheduled to happen after the end of the women's triathlon. The race could move to Friday if need be. Ahead of the Olympics, the city of Paris spent about $1.5 billion just to clean up the Seine, but heavy rain reduced the water quality. Team USA's women's gymnastics team will be looking to bring home gold today, and will also be closely watching NC State grad Catherine Burkhoff. She is competing in the 100-meter backstroke. And our coverage on WRAL gets started at 9 o'clock this morning. That is in 22 minutes with men's beach volleyball. Then at 11:30 on WRAL, Duke's Sierra Burdick at the Team USA 3-on-3 women's basketball team. They're playing in Germany. They're playing in France. At least I hope they are. Then at 12:15, it's the women's gymnastics team final. And at 2:30, swimming coverage gets started on WRAL.
Simone Biles will compete in all 4 events during the finals today, despite injuring her calf. Her coach said that she felt the pain after her performance in the qualifying round on Sunday. Again, remember to tune in at 12:15 p.m. to see them all compete. We know she's going to do great.
Oh, you know she is.
Yeah.
She's Simone. All right, let's take a look at the medal count this morning. We try to update this as soon as we can. USA right now leading with 20 total medals. France is in second place with 16 medals, and Japan and China both have 12. We have a viewing guide on WRAL.com where you can follow your favorite sports and athletes, find the complete schedule day by day, what is on each channel, what's streaming. That's on WRAL.com. Just search the words Olympics schedule.
We are about 2 months into hurricane season, and we're tracking the first system that may impact our coast this year. Meteorologist Chris Michaels joins us now. Chris, what are the chances of this system behind you developing?
Just in from the National Hurricane Center, it's got a 60% chance. So that was as of the 2 o'clock and the 8 o'clock update this morning. The path beyond 5 days, you see that width of the blob. So that path is kind of uncertain, again, beyond 5 days. Good news is we have time before any potential U.S. impact. It would be 6 to 8 days from now. Reason why it's tough to nail down is it doesn't have a clear center right now. But once it emerges from the Bahamas, if it's weaker, it probably gets shoved farther to the south. But if it's stronger, it's more susceptible to the steering flow and would get closer to the East Coast. Where do we stand right now with regards to most of the data? And what we're looking at here is a product that's exclusive to WRAL. And what you see is that at least most of the data is putting it off the East Coast. What do you do with that information, right? The most likely scenario in that case would be dangerous rip currents for the weekend and early next week. But at this point, still wouldn't go canceling plans. Keep watching for updates on the forecast for this weekend into early next week. Before we get to that, we've got some big league heat on the way. Meteorologist Kat Campbell is going to detail that coming up in less than 10 minutes.
All right, thanks, Chris. The sheriff in Illinois is speaking out after a weekend of calls for justice after the murder of Sonia Massey. Just ahead, the apology he issued to her friends and family.
Plus, a local swimmer is getting her chance to take home the gold from the Olympics. Catherine Burkhoff is sharing how she's feeling so close to winning big. Good morning, Clinton. How'd you sleep? Hopefully well as you're waking up this morning, live watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or your streaming device. It is so nice to see a little sunshine today, especially because things were a little gray yesterday, today. A little sunshine over the North Hills, too, right behind you, Kat.
I mean, we're really starting to see the clouds thin out. This is expected today. We'll get to see more sun this afternoon, and that's going to heat us up. Still an opportunity for storms, but look at how clear it is now. You can see downtown from North Hills today. A nice start to the day, but we are heating up to 78 already at RDU, 75 in Fayetteville and Clinton, 72 in Roxborough this morning. And it's more humid feeling today. Our dew points have climbed out of the 60s and into the 70s. Feels tropical outside. The higher the dew point is, the more moisture there is in the air, and you'll be able to feel it, especially in the coming days. We'll stay pretty tropical feeling through the week and the weekend. With that means a higher heat index. 89 today, definitely feeling like the 90s though. We're at 95 tomorrow, 103 the heat index. Upper 90s on the way for the end of the week, and then we could see some heat advisories issued Friday and into Saturday as the heat index is near or exceeds 105. A really hot week in the forecast, all thanks to this big high pressure system. This is what we call a ridge of high pressure. It's in the upper levels of the atmosphere, same levels as the jet stream. And with it, the jet stream is going to flow clockwise around it. So what happens is we end up seeing any thunderstorm complexes that develop in between these air masses kind of get steered toward North Carolina, and we could see additional complexes of storms throughout the week. We've got that opportunity for one later today. Wouldn't get here until later in the afternoon and into the evening. But the big story there is going to be the heat from it. I think we could use a little break from the rain. We've had a lot of rain in July so far. 9.14 inches. Just look at all the green that you see on our July rainfall calendar. Each day with green is a day that we saw at least some rain out at RDU Airport. Nothing out there right now, so you're in the clear if you do want to head outside, get some errands, run, go for a walk or a jog. It's as we get into the afternoon that we'll have that opportunity for rain. Still dry for lunchtime, but we could see some of those storms approach. I think at the earliest would be 3 p.m., more likely 4 to about 9 o'clock tonight. It's going to be scattered. Not everybody's going to see the rain today. And we'll have some other opportunities for rain later this week as we see this front sitting to our north and west. It never really gets here to cool us down for a while. 98 degrees the high Thursday and Friday. Friday's rain chance just 20% during the day, really allowing temperatures to climb. And look at those lows, 77. The warmer the lows are, the more humid the air feels. So we are really going to be feeling more like we were a couple of weeks ago with that big heat soon.
Yeah, thanks. Former President Trump says that he will not commit to a debate against Vice President Kamala Harris. In an interview on Fox News last night, Trump said that he will probably debate Harris, but he also said he can make a case for not doing it. Trump was scheduled to debate President Joe Biden on September 10th. That was on ABC News, but that was before Biden dropped out. Last night, while talking about Harris, he told Fox News host Laura Ingraham, "Everybody knows who I am, and now people know who she is," end quote.
Today, the new head of the U.S. Secret Service will testify on Capitol Hill, where you're looking live. Ronald Rowe will talk about how the Secret Service is working to improve after the assassination attempt on former President Trump earlier this month. Rowe took over as Secret Service director last week after the resignation of Kimberly Cheadle. According to Rowe's prepared remarks today, he has directed the Secret Service to have multiple experienced supervisors go through each security plan for all future protected sites and events.
People who loved a Moore County teenager are remembering him fondly after his death in a car crash. Family and friends of Bryson Mabe gathered last night at Pinecrest High School. You see right here, they had a balloon release. Yesterday would have been his 18th birthday. Mabe was a rising senior at Pinecrest High School. He was a passenger in a crash in Southern Pines on June 10th. He later died at UNC Hospital in Chapel Hill.
We're working to learn if a driver will face any charges after hitting a child in the parking lot of a Target store in Apex. An SUV hit the 5-year-old in the parking lot at the Beaver Creek Shopping Center just before 6 last night. The child was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Apex police and fire crews responded to the scene to assist. Investigators were on the scene for about 2 hours. The SUV stayed on scene while they investigated.
A sheriff in Illinois is expressing his remorse because of one of his deputies shooting and killing Sonia Massey in her own home. Across the country, people are demanding accountability in Massey's death. Sean Grayson is the former deputy fired after this shooting. He faces murder charges. Yesterday, Sheriff Jack Campbell apologized to Massey's family.
I'm sorry. She called for help and we failed her. That's all she did. That's all she did was call for help. And I'm going to say something right now that I've never said in my career before, that we failed. We did not do our jobs.
Last week, a judge decided to keep Grayson in jail until his trial. Prosecutors say he is a risk to the community.
After months of pushing university leaders outside, investigators were allowed inside NC State's Poe Hall for testing. They want to learn the source and amount of cancer-causing PCBs in the building. We saw crews putting on protective equipment before heading inside yesterday. The testing comes after a settlement between NC State and a former graduate student who is battling leukemia. The university did 2 rounds of their own testing, but has been criticized for not being thorough enough. And employees and students hope the new testing will explain whether the chemicals in the building are connected to more than 200 cancer cases reported to us.
In a few hours, former NC State swimmer Catherine Berghoff will have her chance at winning her first Olympic medal. She's competing in the 100-meter backstroke finals in Paris. The 30-time All-American had the fastest time in the morning heats yesterday. She also had the 3rd fastest time in the semifinals. Before she left for Paris, Berghoff shared what her goals are for the Games.
I've always wanted to win gold. You know, I'm not gonna lie, like that's the main goal. But I think the best way to get there will just be to try and enjoy my experience. I think in the past I've gone into these international meets with just a little too much pressure, and I just feel a little too stressed out. So I'm gonna try and like relax and have fun, and I think that'll help me go faster.
The backstroke finals are on this afternoon at 2:56 Eastern Time, and no matter what the outcome, we are so proud of you, Catherine.
And covering Wake County, today you can help students in Knightdale make sure they're prepared for the upcoming school year. The Knightdale Police Department is holding a Fill the Car event today. It is happening from 9 this morning until noon at the Target on Shops at Midway Drive. Officers will be collecting school supplies to donate to kids.
You can share your thoughts today about 3 new park projects in Southeast Raleigh. The city is hosting an open house event tonight to talk about these new projects. And designers will talk about their plans for the John Chavis Aquatic Center and Heritage Plaza. John P. Top Green Community Center is also on deck, and the South Park Heritage Walk. City leaders say this will help them decide how to move forward with these projects.
One step in many for our community engagement and open houses. We also have a community advisory group. So collectively, these comments will be shared and shared forward to our Parks Board, and then eventually the City Council will make a recommendation on how to proceed.
You can drop in to the open house at John Chavis Memorial Park anytime between 4 and 7 tonight.
We have some brand new information coming into the WRAL Live Center right now about a story that we have been following for a few years now. This is about an appeals court has reversed the dismissal of a lawsuit against a North Carolina cop in Greensboro who killed an unarmed teenager. Okay, I want to show you a picture. This is Duke Crenshaw here on the bottom of the screen. I can't get this to go up any further right now. It's at the bottom of the screen. But just a little bit of information about this. The appeals court has overturned the decision to dismiss the lawsuit against that police officer who alleges that Duke Crenshaw drove a car straight towards him, and then he shot several times into the car, but through the right passenger window. So they're making an argument that he was to the side of it and that the car was not driving straight towards him. And that's the argument they're making. We've been following this story since August of 2022 when this happened. That is a picture of this young boy who went by the name Duke Crenshaw there. We'll continue to gather some information and see where else this case takes us.
And before we head to break, here are your winning lottery numbers. We'll get another check on weather next.